Hello everyone, I'm Ryan X1000 and I've been hearing a lot about the Odyssey. Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. What are we doing here? Why would you subvert the fundamental things about this timeless story that has roots in ancient Greece and has timeless themes of heroism and adventure, bravery, all this cool shit, and yet Christopher Nolan decided, we're going to change so much, we're going to basically just vandalize the original story. And I guess he's also trying to combine both the Odyssey with the Iliad. Like, I was kind of surprised when I was hearing about Helen of Troy and Achilles. Like, I'm pretty sure the Iliad is a different story from the Odyssey, unless Achilles does make a cameo in the Odyssey, but from what I remember of the story, that doesn't happen. And no hate to Lupita, who's going to be playing Helen of Troy. She's not an ugly actress. She's not. She's perfectly fine. But we see what they're doing, especially with how Helen of Troy is described in Homer's stories, right? She was beautiful, but in Greek standards, what Greeks saw as beautiful. She was never described as having some sort of Ethiopian descent, right? Some kind of African, genetically African, not like geographically, but more like genetically African, like Ethiopia or Chad or whatever, those kind of places. And then having Elliot Page as Achilles, the legendary warrior guy who was peak masculine physique, a warrior, godly strength, cannot be taken down. 5'1", less than 170 pounds. What are we doing here? Like, what are we actually doing here? If you want a diverse cast like this, make your own story. Don't try to completely change almost every aspect of these characters from this timeless Greek classic. Oh yeah, and there are no Greek actors, by the way. Missed opportunity, if you ask me. I understand I'm rambling. And I know people will ask me, why do you care, you chud? Well, you don't just completely change a story as timeless as the Odyssey. Any story that has very, very solid roots from the culture it's from, you don't change it. You shouldn't change it. Can you imagine if it did that to, like, I don't know, Journey of the West? A very Chinese-rooted story? At least Dragon Ball was pretty faithful to Journey of the West. It was inspiration. It was inspiration from Journey of the West, right? But it was never supposed to, like, adapt Journey of the West. It just was inspired by it. And it was its own story. This is not an inspiration of Homer's classic tales. No. This is an adaptation of it for the modern audience. And the thing is, like, you wouldn't do this with Chinese-rooted tales. You wouldn't do this with Korean-rooted tales, with Indian-rooted legends. You wouldn't do that with any of these. So why the one that happens to be a white culture? Yes, Greece is a white culture. Not every white is the effing same, by the way. It's just so... I think Christopher Nolan's not going to be able to make another successful movie anymore. Because he's made successful movies. Movies I haven't seen, but I know they're successful, and I do need to watch them. Right? I haven't seen Oppenheimer yet. I will say, I haven't seen it yet. But from what I've seen, like, of it, like the trailers and everything, it's like, yeah, Christopher Nolan knows what he's doing. Well, not anymore. He doesn't know what he's doing anymore, clearly. He flew too close to the sun. He should have read that Greek tragedy, you know, Icarus. Changing stories this much is not a healthy thing for any kind of culture, because writing has existed for all of written history of humanity. Writing is stories. Stories are culture. Writing is humanity. This kind of story you don't really should mess with. Adapting it is fine, but at least hold on to what it meant, why things were the way they were. You need to hold on to these fundamental things about what makes things like the Odyssey, the Iliad, and many other tales I probably don't know of, what makes them stand, what makes them timeless. You don't really should be messing with timeless things that appeal to the most core parts of humanity. You don't really mess with that. Really. It's just a shame to see. And in fact, I'm probably going to go watch the other Odyssey movie, the one that I saw in high school. I think it was from the 80s or the 90s. And I might just, right after it, just watch the original Troy from 2006. You know, the Brad Pitt one. Might just go watch that one too. Let's all do that. And did Christopher Nolan learn nothing about what happened last year? You know, with live-action Snow White? When you change fundamental things about a story that existed long before Disney was even a thing? Because Snow White is not a Disney story. It's an actual tale from Germany. Much like how, you know, The Little Mermaid is a tale from, I think, was it Switzerland? I might get that wrong. Switzerland or Norway. It was somewhere from there. You don't change these stories. You shouldn't. You don't. If there was an African story about like some sort of cool African warrior or whatever, and like a powerful queen from Ethiopia or something, imagine if they switched out for someone else who isn't black. The internet would be on fire, bro. The internet would be on effing fire if that happened. If you're not okay with this hypothetical African legend that is turned white or something, if you're not okay with that, okay, power to you, right? You're an ally and everything. But it gets one-sided because it's like, that would not be okay by anybody, and so if you're against it, rightfully so. But if you're against what the Odyssey is doing, you're probably going to be called out as being racist or probably transphobic. I'm probably going to be called racist or transphobic for some reason, even though I just want stories to remain intact and what they mean and what they stand for, their cultural roots, what the Odyssey is, what the Iliad is. You know what I mean? But what do y'all think about this? Because this is just, you can't do this to a classic like the Odyssey. Come on. And it's no hate against the actresses or the actors. It's just the fact that these fundamental things that are very culturally rooted in Greece are just being subverted in such a way that like it's just pandering slop. We shouldn't be okay with that. And the fact that's happening at all, even if you watch the movie or not. Like, people will say, don't watch the movie. It doesn't change the fact that it's happening. Like, we shouldn't have gotten this far. We shouldn't have been this far gone to have something like this get greenlit. You know what I mean? It shouldn't have even gotten this far to even have an actual release. But it did. That's the problem. But let me know what y'all think. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and stay awesome.